All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Happy Sabbath to everyone in the name of Jesus Christ, and I hope everyone is okay. Thank you for coming through on time. We are about to start our service right now, and we're also live on Facebook. We want to also greet the Facebook family that's coming through. Our speaker, Gail, is already here, and we are blessed to have her in our midst. Let's quickly start off with the word of prayer, and immediately after that, I'll give the announcements. Let's all close our eyes and pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you this afternoon. Thank you for everything that you continue to do for us, for the love that you have given us. Thank you for being such a wonderful God and a parent to us. Real issues are going to be spoken about right now. We pray that the Spirit may lead, that you may bless and anoint the lips of Gail as she goes through the whole service. Bless the people that are here, that we may be good listeners and answer relevant questions, and more important, that we may be saved. If we need to forgive, help us, Lord, to forgive. If we need to be forgiven, help us, Lord, to accept that we have done wrong. Bless us abundantly more in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to pin the video quickly here so that at least I can be more visible. All right. Welcome to the 230 conversation. My name is Mtanda Zokolani Ndlovu, and I will be your host for today. And we're having quite a big, beautiful topic that we're going to be having today, something worth talking about, real issues and real solutions to that idea. We are speaking about the effects or the absent mother and the effects of it, the absent mother and the effects. Here are the basic announcements that we're going to have. No, we want to apologize for what happened today in the morning. We're supposed to have our 9:30 lesson. We could not do that. The reason is all the members of the 230 conversation were all engaged. In other words, me, Ashley, Melissa, Leander, all of us were engaged in our different churches. Me, Ashley, and Melissa, we were at Bertram's church because of an appointment there, and we're still going to go there later on in the evening, all three of us. We're just here now to make sure that the program goes smoothly. So I want to apologize. Though next week, everything will be back to normal. At 9:30 in the morning, we will have our Sabbath school lesson. And then secondly, we're also inviting you that you invite as many people as is possible. And I know that because of the fact that people are now going back to normal, church numbers will dingle and all those kind of things. But most churches don't have the afternoon service. In other words, they do up until midday. So you can still join the 230 conversation. Unlike what happened last year in December, where we closed off when thinking that churches were going to be fully operational. We're back and we're saying that you can still join the afternoon program and learn of God what he needs us to learn of him. Also as well, next week, that is at 2:30, we're going to be having our speaker, Brother Temba Ngube. Speaker, Brother Temba Ngube. And Brother Temba Ngube is going to be speaking to us about the kingdom mentality. The kingdom mentality. Then the other week, we're going to have Pastor Mzuyanda Lunga, who's going to be speaking to us about a generation of game changers. So that's what we're going to be looking forward to in this coming couple of weeks. Now, in case you need data to join the program, please contact me. All right, in case you need data to join the program, please contact me. Right now, I'm putting my number on the screen here. For those on Facebook, my number is 073-974-8498. Please, if you know that you need data or you know someone who may be in need of data to join such programs, by all means, let them contact us. We'll buy them what they need so that at least they can be part of the program and they can be blessed. All right. Without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker, our mother, our chosen one of God, and she is going to take us through Gail Masondo, who is ready to take us through the topic, the effects, the absent mother, and the effects. So right now, I'm going to quickly mute myself, and I'm going to ask her to, I think she's already muted. I can just ask her quickly to put on her video, then I can pin it through here so that at least she is visible to all of us. Gail, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. I can hear you.
Great. All right, beautiful. So I'm going to remove the pin. I'm just going to look for you, and then there you are. You're now on the pin right there. All right, I'm going to close off right now, and I'm going to mute myself. If there's anything that you need, just let me know. I'll be here. God bless you as you deliver through the lesson. You let me know what you need me to do. I'm going to mute myself and take the video off. God bless you.
Before you go, please post the picture, the hole in the soul.
Okay.
You can do that now. Hello, everyone. And let me just say that I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be with you. Um, I am my Gail Masondo, and I'm just really grateful whenever young people, young adults want to sit and engage. And so, congratulations on the idea of coming together in this manner. Let's bow our heads in prayer. You know what, Father God, we want to thank you because you saw today before we did. And so you have a plan. There's someone on this feed today that needs to feel better about themselves. Maybe there's a hole in their souls, a wound that doesn't seem to heal because of an absent mom. So we're just asking you to be here with us. We need you in Jesus' name. Amen. In Hebrews chapter 13, one of the things that our Lord says to us is, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I think that that has to be the foundation for our conversation. When he makes this statement, it is saying some people are going to leave. Some people will leave you. They'll leave you physically without their presence. They'll leave you emotionally. They'll leave you spiritually. So we need to understand that we're not home yet. This is planet Earth, and it's full of sin. And it's sin that separates us one from the other. So let's be clear about that foundation. The other thing to be clear about is that from Genesis chapter 3, the fall, it is very clear when God is speaking to Adam and to Eve. One of the questions he asks is, where are you? And that's not a question about location, it's a question about emotional attachment. God had started a relationship with Adam and Eve that was as much emotional as it was physical, as it was spiritual. And we're created in the image of God. And so it would be, almost natural for us to ask, where are you if our mom is not present? Where are you? Why aren't you here for me or with me? So the mother wound, I want you to really look at this picture. This sculpture here is just so interesting. And the artist himself seems to have been saying here that we all have holes in our souls and they're created by different situations. But today we're looking at the mother wound. What I would like for you to do, I asked Melissa, and I hope you all got the message, to bring a piece of paper, a notebook, a journal, and a pen. Can somebody just raise their hands or make mention here in the chat that you have your pen before we go on, before pen and paper? We really want you to take notes. Can you let me know in the chat if you have your paper and pen with you? Please. Thank you. So one of the things I would like for you to do right now, all of you that are present, please draw. If you've come from the rural communities, even if you haven't, you've seen the three-legged steel pots, okay? I want you to draw a three-legged steel pot. Two legs are identically the same, and one of the legs is shortened. Okay, one of the legs is shorter than the other two. And on the front of the three-legged pot, I would like you to write your name. You're drawing a three-legged pot. Two legs are identically the same length. One leg in the middle is short, or wherever you put that one leg, is shorter than the other. Now, the thing about this conversation this afternoon, and I was privy to understand that this is a very opinionated, knowledgeable group of young people, young adults. So we're just going to touch on some areas. We don't have enough time to really delve into all of the psychological upsets that come when a mother is not present. But we're going to touch on some key points. So when you're looking at that third shortened leg, First of all, we need to know with the pot like it is it still useful? Can you still use the pot the way that it is? And if your answer is no, then it might be because the pot is unbalanced. You know, it's got a shortened leg. So some of you may feel like it's useless. That's a very South African term, useless. But on the other hand, maybe some of you are looking at the pot and say, maybe it just needs some support. Maybe if we can have a welder come and fix the leg, or maybe we could use some bricks and prop it up. So if that is your answer, that's a great answer. It's an important answer. Because some of us psychologically and emotionally, something is not balanced and you're feeling a little unstable. But it doesn't mean that you're useless. It just means we need to find you proper support. So what I would like for you to do is under that shortened leg, I would like for you to draw 3 bricks underneath the shortened leg because it needs support. It needs to be balanced so food doesn't fall all over the place or whatever you're going to have in there. So put the 3 bricks underneath, and aside each brick, I would like for you to write what you personally need to feel supported, to feel balanced, to feel encouraged. And you say, well, Ma Gail, what does that have to do with a mother wound? Well, some of us are feeling unstable, imbalanced because our mom was not there emotionally. She was present, but she was emotionally detached, not engaged. And because a mom carries a child for 9 months, that child has become acquainted with the sound of the mother's voice, you know, with the attitude of the mom. That baby is already attached very early in the developmental stage. So when that baby is born, the first person they're looking for, the first person they're looking to be held by is their mother. And when that mother is not able to give what that child needs, maybe because of postmortem depression, there are reasons why some women are not able to engage. Maybe their parent, their mother, their father was not available. So it creates a hole in the soul. And when something is out of balance, we go looking. And sometimes we're looking in the wrong places to be fulfilled. So what happens when the mother is not present emotionally? Low self-esteem in both males and females. Mothers are to nurture and to care. Mothers kiss those wounds away, you know? It's the child that runs in and shows mommy the finger. And if mommy's not available to say, I can make that better, we're always looking later on because absent mother creates unfinished business in our lives. Everyone can mother. And what I mean by that is everyone can birth a child. Every woman can birth a child, but everyone can't be a mommy. So you really have to think about that. Those of you who are on the thread and you don't have children right now, please don't allow yourself to be pressured into having a family if you are not available emotionally. And let me just say this. Even in the African context, it's really important to know yourself before you get married. It's very important to be able to say, I'm working on me. I'm not suggesting that we just need to say, well, you know, my mom wasn't present. There's some information that's really important the older you get, that you really are responsible for your healing, meaning looking for help. As a counselor in the clinical space, I often run into counselees, and when we dig, they say, this is the problem, you know? But then when we dig a little bit further, we realize that something happened in their childhood that creates a sense of abandonment. You want to remember that word? A sense of rejection, a sense of distrust. And that's what happens when a mother is not emotionally available. Let's look at the story of Jacob and Esau. You remember that story? We have the father, Jacob. We have the father, and who favors Isaac, favors Esau, and then we have Rebecca, who favors Jacob. I was just kind of wondering, what did Esau really feel if his mom was not available for him, but was always kind of favoring Jacob? Then we have Mary, the mother of Jesus. We don't hear anything about her mom. What we hear is that she is sent to Elizabeth. Please hold on to that piece, because God knows what we need, even in sin, when things are not present. What God provided for Mary at a very delicate and fragile time in her life. Like, where was her mom? This was a 16-year-old girl that was being promised for marriage. What we can take away from Luke chapter 1 is that Mary read the scriptures. She was aware that the Messiah was coming, because that's all the book of Isaiah talked about. Her question wasn't, can this be true? Her question was, me? You've chosen me. How's this going to happen? Not how in distrust, but no mother to go further and explain what was about to happen. But God provided for her Elizabeth. Please hold on to that. If you are here on this thread, your mother has been emotionally unavailable. God has other women that he will provide to mentor you, not necessarily mother you as an adult, but to mentor you and to be able to have conversations with you. I want to tell you a little bit, as I'm about to wrap, one of my own personal testimony. I grew up in a very volatile home. My father was an alcoholic. In fact, my parents were divorced when I was 2 months old, and I was sent to another part of the country. I'm a New Yorker, but I was sent to North Carolina to be raised by my grandparents and my great-grandparents and my great aunts and uncles. God made that provision for me, and I was well loved during that time. When I was away, my parents came back together. It wasn't the best situation. And my mother was a battered woman, very much abused physically and emotionally. And she was not available for me. Most of the time, she was trying to fend my father off of her and fend my father off of her children, me and my brother. So there wasn't a lot of affection in our home. And I found myself pulling away from people in general. In fact, I studied behavioral science and psychology because I wanted to know, why do people do what they do? By the time I got married and started having children, I found myself detached. I was able, in fact, after my son was born, I went into postpartum depression. That's pretty common. It's not uncommon. We just don't talk about it within our circles. And I literally pulled myself away. I was available to nurse my children, but I was not available, what we call, for intimacy. Intimacy between a parent and a child is a bonding time. That is when that child starts to trust. I was distrustful, so I created that distrust in my own children. One of the things we want to touch on is healing. When you start to heal or want to heal from an absentee mother, you have to be able to acknowledge, number one, she was not available. Number two, she was physically present but emotionally disengaged. And then you have to see your mother as she is. In a circle of believers, you would have to see her as, when you get to a certain age, you would have to see her as a woman who needed Jesus Christ. Jesus was able to do that for me. I got to a place in my 30s where I could look at my mom and realize that some of the things that she did was really not all her fault. She was just doing what she knew. She was trying to save her life in a battered relationship. And while I was disengaged, while I didn't know what to do with my relationship with my mother, time would give us an opportunity before she passed away to have a relationship that was whole and that was healthy. The hole in the soul, you got to be careful with what you fill it with. When you realize that you haven't had what you thought and needed, not just what you thought you needed, but there was a reason why God had a mother and a father in our lives. There are roles that each one plays. And when those roles are not played successfully, we find ourselves looking for fathers and mothers in relationships. You'll find yourself in romantic relationships looking for a father or looking for a mother. We don't marry so that we can be mothered or fathered. That's a whole different relationship. But if you don't take time to recognize and accept the fact that you have a hole in your soul, that you're needy, that you're clingy, that you're always looking for people to take care of you, then that's a clear indication that there's a hole in your soul. God wants to fill the hole. Doesn't want other people to fill the hole. He wants to fill the hole. If there are any questions now, I'm ready to take those. I'm speaking to the host. I hope you did the brick exercise, and I hope if you're one of the people on the thread this afternoon and you feel like you had an absent mother, then that left you with a shortened leg. You still have two very strong legs. And we talked about being able to support that missing shortened leg with bricks. Bricks are really important because they do hold and they do support. So I hope you took time to write down, what do you need if you had a missing parent, mother or father? What is it that you need now to feel whole, to feel fulfilled? Not looking for a relationship to do it, but looking for God to fulfill. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's really important. Professional help. If you find yourself in situations that are always tedious, overwhelming, not nurturing, you find yourself in a pattern, different packages, people look different, but they're the same. Until you get well, you will keep attracting unhealthy people. That's another symptom of the hole in the soul. All right.
All right, thank you so much, Gail, for that one. Okay, we are going to start engaging now, which means that we can start asking as many questions as is possible. The platform is open even on Facebook. You can write your comments. I'll be able to read them. Also on this platform, you can write your questions and your comments as well. We can be able to read them. So one of the things that was pointed across as I tried to make sure that we have a platform where we can start talking within ourselves is that there is a hole in the soul. As the picture just put across, there's a hole in the soul and it needs to be filled. Now, I don't know about you. I wrote in my part on my three-legged unbalanced system that on my bricks, I need love. On my bricks, I need appreciation. One of the bricks should probably have support as part of it as well. And I think what probably makes things very difficult is that we expect mothers to get this for us naturally. That it shouldn't be something that is more instinct than anything else. And I see Portia's got a hand up here. I'm going to give you the opportunity to say something. Portia, you got your hand up there. I don't know if you want to say something. I'm going to ask you to unmute you quickly. There you are. If you want to ask something, then let's just get started engaging within ourselves. You're good to go. Portia?
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask something about, like, what about if it's me? Who is that mother? Who is like always emotionally who is not attached to the kids?
All right, Gail, that's a question that comes through now from Sister Portia. She's saying, what if she is the absent mother, the one who is emotionally detached? How do we handle that? What is the Christ-centered solution in such a situation? You can go ahead.
Well, when we I had to recognize that I was very detached from my own children. And there was a time where I had to get, even though I am a counselor, I had to go get counseling to find out what was going on with me. And, you know, and my children are very affectionate. They're both adults. They're very warm and very affectionate. I found myself not being able to reciprocate. If they would come up to hug me, I would hug them, but I didn't want to hug too long. So what I had to do was get into counseling and find out what was going on with me. And what we found out through digging and through process was that growing up in a volatile home, growing up in an unstable environment, I felt unstable. I acted out unstable. And so, you know, Jesus didn't heal one way. And some of us are afraid of going to get professional help through counseling. But if you broke your leg, you would run to the hospital. They would, you know, orthopedic surgeon would come down and place that leg in a cast or whatever, you know, a soft cast or a hard cast, and tell you to stay off of it for 6 weeks. And you would be willing to take that advice. But as people of color, as soon as we start talking about professional counseling, oh, no, I'm not mentally crazy. No one's saying we're mentally crazy, but we're talking about that. We're talking about that three-legged pot. Once you acknowledge, God will provide help and healing, whether through professional sources or whether through support groups that are out there. God will provide what you need. But getting help and asking for help is really, really crucial.
All right.
I
Thank you
hope
so
that
much for
helped.
that answer.
I hope that helped.
Yeah, she's nodding. I think that's pretty much okay. So maybe the two-way part of it could be, as I try to make sure that people start engaging within themselves, we could be on this platform the victims of absenteeism of our mothers, or we could be actually the perpetrators of that. And one of the things that you put across was the triggers to such situations. What triggers absenteeism in mothers? You talked about, I think you said postnatal depression, something like that, something similar to that.
Yeah.
What other triggers could be there, especially in the context of an African society? How could we find ourselves in a situation where absenteeism becomes the norm?
Yeah, you know, work, being mothers who are heads of household, maybe the single head of household, and she is working and providing. I'm going to ask Portia if she wouldn't mind turning her video off, please. I'm afraid of the contact, the connection. A mother who is working, who's wearing two hats, wearing mother hat and wearing father hat, and providing for her family. She is just physically worn out and not able, just trying to keep her children in school. And many of us are on this thread who have mothers who have done that. They've just been so focused on making sure you had food on the table, you had your uniform for school, you had fees for university. And so these moms are just physically depleted and emotionally worn out and drained. Not that they don't love, not that they don't care, but they don't have anything else to give. Does that make sense? Because there's some of you on the thread that, you know, you just are worn out. You say, well, what? I mean, but God, and God is able to provide. God is able to provide, but you know what? We've got to be specific in our prayer life. Sometimes we're just saying, Lord, bless me. Lord, give me a good job. Lord, give me money. But how about, Lord, please give me some peace. And when I go to sleep tonight, please let me sleep sound, because I've got to get up and I've got to go to work. Also, some of us are doing jobs where we're not necessarily in our career. When you're not in a career and you're just doing work, you're resentful. And that resentment, when you walk through the door, everyone can feel it, because you have unfinished dreams. That's part of the unfinished business. You got married maybe too young, if you got married, or, you know, and you say, well, what can we do about that now, Ma, Gail? This is my situation. Is be able to go back to your creator God. I just sometimes wonder, had Adam just said, when God said, where are you? If Adam had just said, you know what, I blew it. I blew it. I needed your help. I succumbed. But many times we're making excuses as opposed to asking for help. I hope that answered the question.
All right, thank you so much, Gail, for that one. All right, I'm just trying to make sure that I read some of the questions here. Here's a question that comes through, and Edward Ndaba saying, God is good. Thanks for sharing your experience, which is good. You talked about your difficult childhood, and that's very important. I have a question that came through here, and I think it's Loretta. She says, are there any professional counselors that you would recommend if one wants to go for counseling? I think one of the things that you put across as advice, or rather as solutions to a situation, is counseling, and that's a great one. Maybe if you do know, or if there are people on this platform who have gone having similar situations like an absent mother situation, have gone for counseling, are there any ones that you probably know, Gail, or people here on the platform know? If so, please kindly share with us here so that at least we can get as much professional help as much as we do with spiritual help.
And what I'll do is I'll make sure that Melissa gets a list of counselors. One of the clear go-to areas or organizations called Anxiety and Depression. It's a group in Gauteng that deals with these kind of situations. Absentee mothers and fathers. And so I'll make sure that I get that information across. I do some counseling in those areas. One of the things that I did mention in order for your question is that we need to even take time to grieve the fact that our mother was not available for us. A lot of times we grieve when we are lowering people into the ground. But there are other things to grieve in this life on planet Earth. And that doesn't, that just means that I wish I had. Some of us are looking at relationships, mother and daughter relationships, that on the outside just look so wonderful. And you wish you had had that with your own mom. But there's an opportunity for us to grieve what we don't have and allow God to give us what he can and wants to give us. That's why I mentioned mentors. There are plenty of women, maybe not a lot, and the pandemic has separated us from each other, but there are women who will mentor. I had some wonderful mentors in my life. In fact, even with the relationship my mom and I didn't have, my mother, when she passed away at 53, she asked a friend of hers who had 12 children. And she said, "Ma Helen, would you please mother Gail as I am? I'm dying. Gail's gonna need a mom." And Mom Helen died at 93, like maybe 4 years ago. And she was one of the richest treasures my mother gave to me. Sometimes we have to ask for help in the areas where we're not capable. In the areas where there's still that hole for the mother who isn't able to give and for the child who didn't receive. God is seeing both. And he says, even if your mother and father forsake you, I'll never forsake you.
And that's a beautiful tune to it, because I think that's what Isaiah chapter 49, I think it's verse 15, can a mother forget a child? And yes, you can, but I have, yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's a beautiful one right there. So as we try to engage, if you've got a question, please do ask. If you've got something to talk about, an experience of your own that you've probably gone through in terms of an absent mother, and what have you gone through? And I think that's a question that's just popped up there. You can read it, Gail. But let me just make sure that hands come up here. So we talk. You talk to us, Gail, about overwhelmed mothers. And I don't think there's any sanctuary more overwhelming than this one. And because we are on the pursuit for economical and financial freedom, we find ourselves working extremely hard to get there. So a typical mother in Africa right now is pursuing a job, a career, is at school, right? Is probably involved in church as well, is a family member and a mother as it were. And all those roles overwhelm. A wife sometimes. And also maybe, I don't know what the role of divorce or separation single mothers plays into all of this. The pandemic that we're currently facing, not corona, is the pandemic of single motherhood. It's almost like an expectation that anyone who gets
Yeah.
pregnant out of wedlock, they are automatically inaugurated into single motherhood. And that's it. And so we need to understand
Yes.
how that role plays through. I think that's one of the questions you need to probably answer. I want to give over to Leander because it's got something to say. Maybe you can come after Leander as well. And the question that came from Edward Ndaba. Lee, I'm going to give you a chance. Go ahead, my man.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I just wanted to maybe chip in quickly on the topic, or just to maybe share some sentiments as well. Well, fortunately for me, fortunately, unfortunately, I grew up the greater part of my life having a mother present. But unfortunately, I lost her late in life in terms of like when I hit 30 and then I lost her. The point I wanted to make is that with having lost my mother, right, when I was at the age that I was in, I want to raise a point as well in terms of what people should look out for. You'd also pick up that when you lose one mother, somehow God, by his providence, he channels other people who are mother figures, so to say, such that they gravitate towards you. You know, I don't know if it's a fair point as a replacement, but you'd find that God actually brings other people that would actually take over. In my case, other people have got another mother, so to say. I'm keeping contact with her now because she understood how the journey was between me growing up and to a point where I lost my mother at that time, and she's picking up the pieces moving on. So the point I wanted to raise is that with us not having our physical mothers, our present mothers in whichever way, as in like she would be there but she's absent, we should always also look out the providence that God provides in terms of bringing other people to fill that void. And more often than not, that requires a lot of nurturing. It requires a lot of cognizance. We need to be woke and mindful and say, okay, God is coming through for me in light of me not having a mother that I would desire, but here's somebody else to at least maybe pick up the pieces. So I just wanted to raise that point because I wanted to say, I can't relate with not having a mother because I grew up with a mother, but I'm thinking now that I've lost her, maybe my loss came later and what does that count for me? And then I saw the light at the end of the tunnel and that somebody came in and they picked up the pieces. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Lee, for that one. Much appreciated. I'm going to give over to Gail, and then after that, I'll give over to Skumbuzo, who wants to say something. Thank you for a beautiful rendition of what it means to have a mother and the effects of having had her, which are positive in this case. Gail.
I didn't hear your last question. You asked a question before the
yes,
last gentleman spoke.
Okay, let me just repeat the question.
Long. It's very long.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does the role of divorce, single motherhood play in absenteeism of mothers, right? How does divorce eventually influence this kind of absenteeism? Because I'm thinking that the effect is more on the children when it comes to absenteeism than it is on the mother. So how does divorce, single motherhood, and I was saying this because most of the bulk of mothers who have children outside wedlock, most of them, they end up as single mothers. And that's the pandemic that we're dealing with.
That's a very complex, compound question. So let's just deal with what divorce can do in a relationship.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Now we can.
Can you hear me? I was just saying that was just a complex question. But as it relates to, it's no different. If you are a single mother working, a single mother divorced, a single mother with children out of wedlock, it is still complicated. You are still going to be tired. You're still going to be emotionally exhausted. That's not an excuse. That's a fact. And some of us on the thread have watched our mothers just come home and just be extremely, extremely tired. For a divorced mother, she is dealing, you said it has more impact on the children than it does on the mother. Everyone is impacted, even the husband who is now divorced from his family. Everybody is impacted by a divorce. I think everyone needs to understand that on the thread. The father is impacted, the mother is impacted, the children are impacted. That's why the enemy is very shrewd about destroying families. There was a question here about the moral development of a child. Does it rest more on a mother or rest more on a father? It's really interesting that in God's kingdom, he created Adam and Eve. His desire was for a mother and a father. Each one has their roles. But when a divorce shows up, it is generally the mother that becomes the primary caregiver, because we can't find the absentee fathers. So she becomes the primary caregiver. We do have some fathers where mothers have not been credible to take care of their children. So we do have some fathers who are the primary caregivers. But in this 21st century, New South Africa, we are looking for fathers both in the church, outside of the church, to be responsible. So the effects of divorce, they do cause emotional attachment in women because they are worn out. They are tired. They are tired physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially. That's not an excuse. It's a fact.
Right. Thank you so much for that one. I'm going to give over to Skumbuzo and Lumkile consecutively. Then we'll see if there are questions or comments that they want to bring. Skumbuzo, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I have actually two questions. Maybe it's one question in different ways. The first part is that how do you help an absent mother? Someone who, let's say, you stay in Northwest and then she gets a job in Gauteng. Then her lifestyle when she's in Gauteng, well, she behaves as if she's single. And then the children at home, and like she does not really give attention to the children as a mother, to a point where some children, they even grow up thinking she is the sister and the grandmother is their mother. Now, how do you help in such situation? Because I'm talking from experience that there was an incident where a child, I think it was she was 14 or 15 when she discovered that her sister is actually her mother. And then there was a fight towards that, like the mother saying, why did you tell her, fighting to the grandmother. So there was that fight to a point where she decided to just stay in Gauteng without going back home to deal with the situation. Now, how do you help such an absent mother? That's the first question. The second question is that to us who grew up without mothers, lost our mothers when we were still young, and then now maybe you're looking for a wife or you want to get married, you discover that you default to your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, that like you tend to demand from your spouse things that you did not get from your mother. So now
Yeah.
as a result, you become so demanding. And well, you won't see it, but like the spouse will be always complaining that you're so demanding, and maybe you lose relationships now and then because of that element. Like I saw Tase Duguti in his three-legged picture, he wrote Duguti, he needs love, you know. So what if that portion it's caused by not getting the love of the mother? Now, how do you deal with that? Because, well, I know we can go to psychologists trying to help us in that. Now, I want to see, to get the practical solution to it, because it's really affecting. Because I'm seeing it around that, like, it's affecting that a spouse default to treat the you tend to treat the spouse as if that spouse is your parent because you did not get the love of the parent when you were young. Now, how do you deal with such situations? I hope I'm clear on my questions.
You're clear,
Thank you,
but
Skubozo,
your
for that.
question,
Yeah.
your question was, how do we deal with this practically? I'm always interested when we as believers ask that question. What's the practicalities? Well, if there are those of you on the thread who are interested in getting married and you want a spouse, you've got to be really honest about what it is that you want, because you can't give what you don't have. And so if you're looking for someone to fill that hole in the soul, number one, that's just not a great motivation. Number two, many are getting married without premarital counseling. And you said, we need something other than counseling. Well, no, you need premarital counseling if you're thinking about, because premarital counseling is not the night before you get married. It's not Saturday night. It is, and I'm hoping, and I hope there's a pastor or somebody on here. We need to have at least 6 months of premarital counseling. You don't just have, it looks at personality traits. It looks at historical data. It's kind of like when you go to a doctor, the doctor first of all asks for your history. They want to know what kind of diseases are in your father line and what kind of diseases are in your mother line. So for us here on the thread to think, well, no, I mean, I don't need to go to pre-med. That is where you find out who's who in the zoo. So premarital counseling can either say postpone the wedding or no wedding at all. So if you're not interested in going to get professional help or pastoral care, then marriage requires maturity, and maturity requires acknowledgement, and acknowledgement requires whatever the problem is, let's go find a solution. So for your question about getting married and the spouses expecting the role of their spouse to be the father or the mother, you're correct in that. And the solution for that, for those of you who are unmarried, make sure you do the work before you have to do bitter work. Do the better work ahead of time. Find a pastor or find a counselor that deals in premarital counseling. We're needing that more and more in this 21st century. We're getting closer to the Lord returning, and we're, as in the days of Noah, we're seeing some really unusual things happening in the body of Christ. I don't know if it's social media and we're talking more. I'm not really sure, but I do know that we're in trouble. As it relates to the family situation where the mother is actually been told, or I think there's a lie in here somewhere, where the child thinks her mother is her sister, where it is actually her mother. That's really not unusual, unfortunately. I think apartheid did a wonderful job of separating mothers and fathers from their children. You know, if we're just going to put it out there, it's done a wonderful job of destroying families. Now, our job or your job as the next generation is to be able to tell the truth. Your question was, how do we help the absent mother who's acting like a teenager? Well, depending on when she became pregnant, she's probably acting out at an age that she did not get a chance to be a child or get a chance to be a young woman. I'm not excusing that behavior. I'm just giving you reasons why sometimes people do what they do. But for you moving forward, you know, secrets, God will uncover. And secrets, y'all, they get revealed. Everything gets revealed. Everything gets revealed. I hope that's helpful.
All right, thank you so much for that one. Skumbuzo acknowledges and he says it's very helpful. We've got another comment from Lumkile. I'm going to unmute you and you go ahead.
Good afternoon. I have, I don't know if it's I'm just adding. You can decide if it's a question or it's an answer or it's whatever. It is something though. So from my experience, my parents separated around 2001, if I'm not mistaken. And around that time, I think around 5 or 6. And so with my mom, she went back to school to try and get her education. And with my father, she was absent for most part of my life. Later, maybe in around 2007, 6, there, he resurfaced, and my mom, who has been around but also was not around because she had to try and go to work and try and make means for us to sort of like live and survive. So what I grew up feeling not loved from both my parents. I felt like I was not seen. I was not. Yeah, you sometimes feel like you're a mistake, something like that. And such things, they do factor into us growing up. They don't just disappear. Yeah. You have to put in work and try and deal with them. So there are things that happened in my life which sent me or made me to go and seek counseling. And when I did start with that, my therapist at that time suggested that I speak or let it known to my parents how I feel and all those things, because as Ntandazo, I think he said earlier on that sometimes we think our parents should behave in a certain way because it's so expected, it's so normal. And then when they don't behave in that way, we don't know how to move around that. My mom was trying to make life for us better by working and getting an education. And she was able to get us through high school and help us through even and maybe she did not go, we would be in a worse position in life. With my father, it's another point. What I did with that, I spoke with my mom and I told her how I felt and how all this has been happening and how it's been affecting me all my life. And we had a conversation around it. And I was sort of like at a better position after that, because now she understood, or she knew where I was coming from, and she understood why I was maybe a bit distant, because I'm a person that can stay for like a month without speaking to my parents, or even more sometimes. I usually think it's because I'm independent, but I think it just comes from being isolated or not knowing how to be around them, or maybe checking up on them, such things. So I would suggest that if you feel like you have an issue with one of your parents, or if both, you do try and speak to them, and sort of like, even if you speak to them and they don't understand, it helps you to talk about it, and so it's sort of like a step in a way of dealing with it. And also it helps you to seek counseling. On the point of marriage, and I know that the topic is not marriage. I think it's important for us to be true to ourselves and to be real of the challenges that we face. And why I say this is because you know as a guy that you have an issue with 1, 2, 3, 4. And as a lady, you know that you have an issue with 1, 2, 3, 4. And you go into this relationship. Obviously, the end goal is marriage. You're hoping that you can build a home that is void or absent of all the things that your parents maybe couldn't help or assist in. So you this perfect home that you want to build, but you neglect the issues that you have. Besides the pre-marriage counseling, what I always advise or talk about, I know I'm still young, but it's very important that we're true to what we're facing. So you as a lady, you go and seek counseling for whatever you're facing, and you as a guy, you go and seek counseling for whatever you're facing, so that pre-marriage counseling that will take place, it's gonna fix minor things for you to be able to live with each other and all those things that may come up there. But personally, you sort of like dealt with your issues or are dealing with your issues, and you know, which makes it a bit better, because sometimes you may be fighting things that there are just issues from both sides. It's not, and if you have dealt with them before, you even took the step to want to spend a life together, you wouldn't have so many issues to deal with. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lumkile, for that. Much appreciated. I don't know if Gail, you got something to say on that. Thank you for being brave enough, Lumkile, to share your testimony with us. We really appreciate it.
You know, I think we spend so much time on weddings. Everybody loves a wedding, you know. Everybody loves planning a wedding and going to a wedding. One of the things that's really important is what our gentleman just said, was spend more time on developing yourself. And it's interesting when we go to the Holy Spirit and we say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Reveal to me what is going on with me. And as Lumkele just said, you know, we know our issues. And let me just put it out here, marriage is not going to solve your issues. If anything, marriage is going to spotlight and highlight the issues. And so, and for those of you who are married and are struggling and wondering what has been going on, this would be an opportune time to be honest with one another as well. And talk about the things you've not talked about, that you didn't talk about before marriage. You have to remember the attack. The main thing that happened in the garden was the enemy wanted to attack God's creation, which was the family. The family started in the garden. It didn't start after they left the garden. It started in the garden. And the devil wanted to prove God wrong. That's what this great controversy is all about. And so you got to be really, really careful. I want to read something about this. You know, the question was, so what do we do? You know, we have found ourselves in situations. Some of us had great moms. Some of us didn't have such great moms. Not because the mothers didn't want to be. You know, we have to factor in the fact that mothers may not have had great mothers. So it's this cycle that goes around until somebody decides, you know what, I'm getting off of this merry-go-round. I'll tell you about my son. He's 41. He's about to get married. And what he did a couple of years ago, and I have such great respect for him. What he did a few years ago was he got himself a dog. Yes, a dog. Unmarried, not dating, got himself a dog. And when, the question was, we had dogs when he was growing up, but we didn't have the dog he wanted. And so he got himself a bullmaster, the dog that he wanted. And he nurtured this dog, and the dog nurtured him back. And they have this amazing relationship. The dog's name is Ruby, and I have such great respect and love for Ruby. He realized there was a 12-year-old boy that needed some healing. He wasn't complaining. He wasn't blaming. He made a decision. Let me go and see what I can do to better my situation, because I do want to have a family one day. So there are opportunities like Munkeli. I don't think I'm pronouncing your name right. Please forgive me. But he said he went to seek help. So let me read this for you. Healing the mother wound and recovering from the emotional absence is a process and takes time depending on your mother wound and experiences. It's a journey of becoming the person you are meant to be, and healing the wound can set you free from self-criticism, self-doubt, reduce anxiety and depression, and improve your relationships and benefit you in many other ways. So we're saying here, you can become the person you were meant to be, whether your mother was present or whether she was absent. And along with speaking to your mom and your father in the African context, I know that that's not always acceptable, but you can write. You all are on WhatsApp, or you all are on whatever mode of writing. You can write a letter. You can share. For those of you who have mothers who are not present because they were working, this might be a great time to tell your mother thank you. She may not have been there physically for you, but she was there for you. It might be a good time. That will start to heal that mother wound, is to recognize some of the good traits that some of your absentee mothers have. And just remember, in these practical times, Jesus was very practical. When people were hungry on that mountain giving the Beatitudes, he said, feed them. So we're talking to a God who's very practical. That's what air is about. It's very practical to breathe in and out. And so when we're looking for ways of healing and responding, God knows. One of my favorite sentences in Desire of Ages, chapter 62, the feast at Simon's house, is talking about Mary. And it says, Jesus knew the circumstances that had shaped her life. That's powerful. And I use it for myself. Jesus knows the circumstances that have shaped my life. Jesus factors in everything. Absent mother, my son, my child down there on planet Earth, mother wasn't there. I'm factoring that in when it comes to the judgment time. But your responsibility is to acknowledge I have a hole, to acknowledge there's a wound, and then get about the business of getting healing and becoming well. And forgiveness is a part of it as well. For those of us on the thread, forgiveness is a big, I don't know if Melissa sent it. I had asked her to send it out last week, but we did a conversation with Cece Winans last month on forgiveness, a similar type of setup of a conversation. And we need to be able to ask God. It's a sacred space. Forgiveness is a sacred space. You cannot forgive on your own. The Holy Spirit has to give you the unction, and then we'll respect your choice and your free will. But forgiveness is holding us up, holding us hostage, and not allowing us to get healing. Pride works in there. Well, they did this to me, so I'm not. There's an opportunity. God knows you've been hurt. God knows you've been wounded. He is the great physician. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gail, for that one. The great physician indeed. I want to read something quickly here from D before I give over to Mashingaidze family. From the chat, D says forgiveness is sacred. Oh, yes. Forgiveness is a sacred space. I think Gail just said that. I think he's probably repeating to hammer the point. You cannot do it on your own. And that's a big amen on that one. Mashingaidze family, I'm going to unmute you as we're gliding towards the end of our service. I can't find, okay, you've lowered your hand. Let me just try and see. There you are. I'm unmuting you, Mashingaidze. Go ahead as we're gliding towards the end of our lesson. You can go ahead, Mashingaidze. Could be a network issue. Let me try that again. All right. How's this?
Oh, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself, but it wouldn't let me.
Okay, no problem.
I wanted a quick question. Since I'm a mom of 2 boys, she spoke about something about making sure that you can be available, but being absent at the same time. So what are the key points that she can give me just to make sure that I'm physically present as well? Maybe I missed it, or maybe you mentioned it, but yeah, thank you.
All right, Gail, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so if you, I want to ask the question, are you a working mother at this time?
Let me unmute her
Hello?
again. Let me just unmute her quickly.
Yes, I'm a working mom, so my day, I only get to see my boys in the evening and weekends.
Okay. Well, evenings and weekends are great. And it's depending on their ages, it's always wonderful to have appropriate dates with your children. Whether, we're talking about you all are in Gauteng, but you can have a date with your child in your house. Those are the days where the weekends are when there's not just Sabbath, but Sunday is also a wonderful time, even if you've got to do the washing, do the things that you can't do during the week. Set aside 2-3 hours of your Sunday, even though, you may have to sleep in. Some of you can't be at everything the church has. And I need to reiterate that. There needs to be some family time just for the family. And if you're a mom with 2 boys, maybe, I don't know if they're Pathfinder ages, but what I'm trying to say is have some quality time with your children. That could be breakfast. That could be a special breakfast or a special lunch on Sunday. That can be a bedtime story that happens only on Sunday or Saturday nights. But you can find ways to bond. That's the word we're using. Find ways to bond with your children. Try not to feel guilty about what's going on, because guilt keeps us as mothers. It keeps us in hostage. We keep in this cycle. Well, I don't have time. But say to yourself, I'm going to make time. I'm going to make time to be available. Quality versus quantity. I'm not disregarding quantity. But if you can focus on quality, your boys will know that you love them. Focus on quality. I can't say that enough. God bless you. As you discover your little boys and what they need and what they desire. And what they desire right now is mommy time. So whether that be 2 hours, 3 hours, just make it special. Make it very special for you and your boys. God bless you.
Thank you so much. I think she acknowledges with the emoji there of love. Thank you so much appreciated. All right, so I think as we glide towards the end, we're coming up with a couple of deliverables here. If there's been absenteeism of a mother, and sometimes it's both mother and father. And if you noticed last week, the topic was absent father. We had that one, and today is a follow-up on the absent mother. The effects are pretty much similar, and the solutions are maybe different, but the effects pretty much are very similar. A feeling of rejection and unbalanced life, and the feeling of pulling away. Lumkile put something across quite interesting. During the week, Gail, I had someone talking to me when she saw your poster on my WhatsApp status. And her first reaction was, if only you knew how painful this is. So she narrated a story to me. Her mother lives 15 minutes away from her, 15 minutes away from her. And she has been absent since I think she was 3 years old. And she says it has affected her outlook on motherhood and on being a wife and a woman. She's afraid of having children in such a way that she feels that she'll be as bad a mother as a mother has been to her. And so she has this inherent fear. And then she says, I'm also not interested in relationships because they are pretty much fundamentally disappointing. At their base and their foundation, anytime you assess a relationship, you are setting yourself up for disaster. This is what probably the bulk of what you're saying. And I would love to have your response on that one. She says then that she has never in her life, and she's almost 30 now, in fact, she's 30 now. She says in her life, she does not remember a period where she was not overwhelmed with something. Doesn't remember a period when she's always been overwhelmed, but the greatest weight has been an absent present mother. So one of my questions to her was, did you try to speak to your mom? Did you try to sit her down? And she says she has excuse, not reason, excuse upon excuse why she is not in her life. And one word, I just want to read something quickly that she said to me here. I'm not going to reveal her name whatsoever, and she's not on the platform, but I could use an example there. She says, if only she could say, I'm sorry, it would make a world of difference. But she's so adamant, and so much that she has put across to her mind that it is probably her fault. And sometimes we children feel that way, that our parents' life seems to be disturbed because of us. We feel like Lumkile, we felt like Lumkile times, where we feel like, were we even planned here? Did we disrupt normal order of services? Was this a biological accident that people couldn't get rid of and to just, okay, let's just go ahead with it, you know? So she feels those many effects on that. And in that case, I don't know how we can be able to advise such a person. It could be advice coming from you, Gail, or anyone on this platform, but these are real pertinent issues that are destroying our lives and our outlook on life and our social life as well. I don't know, you can take it up from there if you can.
You know, self-care is so important. And sometimes one of the things I mentioned is that we have to look at our parents. And we are, in this particular case, this young woman is going to have to look at her mother and look at her mother not as her mother. When I was in counseling, one of the things my counselor asked me to do as a counselor was to look at my father, because he was the perpetrator at the time, and see him as a man, a man that had, you know, psychological needs. Take him out of the father role. When we see someone who is physically handicapped, cerebral palsy is a physical disability where the brain is nothing wrong. The mind is clear, capable, but the body is not able to take the commands of the brain. You would not expect them to run the comrades race. They can't. They're not capable because they are physically disabled. There are some people who are emotionally disabled. To sit down and have a conversation with an emotionally disabled person who is in denial about their contribution to your life that has caused you to feel unwanted is almost a waste of time. And I say that very clearly. I'm not suggesting people should not try, but this is I'm speaking specifically to this young woman whose mother lives 15 minutes away. At some point, this young woman has to accept my mother is not interested, or my mother does not know how, my mother is incapable of giving me what I need emotionally. We live in a very fragile and fractured world. And a lot of us on this thread have been emotionally abused by the absence of our mothers and our fathers. What you can gain from this is don't do the same thing. Don't repeat the cycle. It's time to get off the merry-go-round. It's time to stop doing what you've seen being done, knowing it's harmful, knowing it doesn't work. This young woman now needs to acknowledge the fact that her mother cannot, is not capable, has shown her time after time after time that right now she's not able. What this young woman needs to do is pick up the pieces of her broken heart. Pick up the pieces of her broken heart and start to live life, because she's not been living. She's been surviving. She's been waiting, hoping, wishing. Now it's time to acknowledge the truth, not to stop loving her mom, but to understand her mom cannot, is not willing, does not want to, does not know how to give her what she needs. May God heal this young woman. May God heal her mother before they both miss out on what they both could give to one another.
Thank you so much, Gail, for that one. Thank you so much. I'll advise accordingly. And I think she probably will run through this lesson as well. I'll recommend that. And counseling is something of recommendation as well. We are almost to the end of our lesson. And maybe one thing that we could do as we end is to have a word of prayer, a season of prayer. Someone here could be going through toughness of forgiving, could be struggling with getting in touch and in contact with their parents, having just a simple, healthy relationship with their parents. And that's a true reflection of the situation that most of us are going through. So we could have that situation or the season of prayer where we're asking God to heal us. Some of our parents will never come to apologize to us for a bad upbringing, and we will die, they will die without that apology. May we be able to forgive without having them acknowledged that they did wrong. And so that could be a prayer point right there. And for those mothers who are, going through a lot in terms of being overwhelmed and trying to make sure that they don't miss out in their children's life, may God help them as well to be able to. So these are some of the prayer requests that we could be having here. Let's mend the relationships with our mothers. Let's mend the relationships with our children. So if there's no one else with their hand, and I don't know if there's anything on Facebook, Lee, can you check for me before I close anyone out on Facebook? Because I'm a bit, I'm on the platform now, I'm not able to go out on Facebook. Just check for me while we prepare ourselves for a good season of prayer and asking God to save us from such a situation. All right, thank you, Lee, you're checking for me. As you check, I want to read something from Elder Edward. Excruciating stuff, may Jesus release the later rain so that we go to the New Jerusalem. Couldn't have said it better, my elder. We cannot wait for the place where there is no crying, no pain, and no tears, no motherless children, and no fatherless children. And to those that have lost their parents, whether it's one or both of them, find refuge in God, who is our chief parent, the Father who never gives up on us. Lee, I'm waiting on you. As you check, it's okay, my man. Just give it a minute or so. Okay, right. I think Lee just said there's no comment on Facebook, which is fine. Thank you so much, Gail, for today's lesson. We much appreciate. Can you please take us to the throne of grace and ask God to save us?
Someone is asking to be unmuted. Are they? Do you see that?
Okay.
Here on your chat?
No, I didn't. I didn't see. I didn't. Okay. Oh, Lee. Yes, Lee. Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Let me just give to Leander. Leander. There. Thank you, Lee. Sorry about that.
Okay, it's fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, let me just quickly read the comments that are on Facebook. My apologies, I thought I had communicated clearly. All right, so we've got Unomthandazo Kutlwano, who was just tagging her friends. So I guess it's one of those situations where she feels, I've got a friend who needs this, so she tagged her friends. But apart from that, there are two major comments. Let me just read them in your hearing. I'm afraid to bring this topic up with my mother because she's a woman from an era where communication about serious issues were taboo. When you share your feelings, you are dramatic. We are papa, uzenza umlungu. I've just let her emotional absence hurt me until it doesn't hurt anymore. But the wound never heals. All right. That is from Upriti Madala on Facebook. And then the last comment on Facebook as well is someone once advised that it's better to get premarital counseling from a psychologist while you go for it with a pastor in the church. So Unomthandazo Kutlwana is saying, do the best of both. Get premarital counseling, psychologist while you go for it with the pastor in the church. So those are the comments from Facebook.
All right. Thank you so much, Lee, for that one. Gail, I don't know if you want to respond to any of them. I think one of them was advice, and the second one is pretty much damning because she's saying, I will pretend, I'll go through with it until it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
I think we've kind of covered that for your friend who says my mom lives 15 minutes. It is. I wanted to comment on the elder who said, may Jesus release the latter rain. We need to be prepared that it is God who's going to wipe all our tears from our eyes. There are individuals in our families that are incapable. And I need to say that again. Incapable because they have a hole in their soul. And we try to make church going, Sabbath keeping, kind of like a cover for everything that's happening. And I want to applaud you all, the 2:30 conversation, for dealing with real issues that are going on in our lives. Some of us are not going to go to heaven anyhow, just anyway, because you're an Adventist Christian, because you have accepted the Sabbath day truth. Remember, Desire of Ages, Jesus knows the circumstances that have shaped your lives. Mary wasn't satisfied with just having circumstances. She met Jesus, and that's where she stayed until Jesus died and she found him resurrected. You're gonna have to work on your lives. The Sabbath school lesson is not going to make you healthy mentally or emotionally. You need not just the Sabbath school lesson, but you need to go seek after professional help. And if professional help is not available to you, no, I'm not going to say that because it is. It is. Is that the cure-all? No, it's not. But it's an opportunity, it's a process, it's a journey, it's a learning curve. Emotional abuse, let me say this, abuse, period, changes the fabric of who you were meant to be. Who you were meant to be. Who you were meant to be. I want you to hold on to that thought, because God knows who he meant you to be. And he is the redeemer of the time. Joel 2:25, I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten in your mother-womb relationship. He promises to heal and restore. You just have to be willing to be open and acknowledge there is a hole. Let's pray. We come to you, Father God, because you're the great physician who's been touched. You understand rejection and abandonment. You understand doubt and criticism. You understand. So you invite us. You don't call us your little adults. You call us your children, because you recognize that this life on planet Earth brings such pain and anxiety. And we just keep in these cycles. Father God, help us, all of us on this platform, to acknowledge that we want help, we need help, we're seeking for help. And through the power of the Holy Spirit, you will lead and guide each one who needs help to the proper place for solutions. Help us, Father, to do our part, and our part is to acknowledge that we need help, to do our part, and our part is to forgive. We're in the resurrection weekend, and one of the most powerful things Jesus said on the cross was forgive. Forgive them, Father, because they don't know what they're doing. These parents, as mothers, as fathers, we don't know what we're doing. Half the time, we don't know, but we can learn how to be better. We can learn. We can become the children that you desire for us to be by staying close to you. Thank you so much for this young group of young adults. Lord, bring facilitators and laborers that can give the truth according to your word. And may they find themselves being a source of hope, a source of peace. Your word also tells us, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, going around in circles. You promise to give rest. Your word says in Revelation 12:11, they overcame the enemy and all of the destruction he has caused by the blood of the Lamb and the word. Let's trust you more. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Gail, for coming through. Thank you also to everyone who came through today. The comments that are given, you may be released. Thank you to the Facebook family. We pray for healing as Gail is put across. God will answer our prayers. Hopefully those that need to talk to their mothers, they'll come around. God will speak to their hearts and soften their hearts enough to understand what could be going on. Just one or two announcements before we leave. Announcement number one, again, as I put it across in the...
Excuse me, before you do your announcement and before I go, I want to reiterate this: talking to your parents. Timing is everything.
Mhm.
You can have the right thing to say, but if the timing is wrong, it's the wrong thing. So make sure that you and God are on one accord about timing. I agree that for some parents, a note, a letter, a conversation is helpful, but ask God for the right timing. God bless all of you, and may the hole in the soul not be filled with relationships, but be filled with you getting healing. God bless every one of you. Bye-bye.
Amen. Goodbye and amen. All right. Thank you so much, family, for coming through today. Just maybe one or two announcements. Number one would be a sincere apology from the 2:30 conversation team about what happened in the morning today. We were meant to have our Sabbath school lesson at 9:30. What happened is that me, Leander, Ashley, Melissa, all of us actually, we had other programs, right? Like we to attend physical church. Leander is with his church and is the treasurer and the clerk, and they're doing nominations. Me, Ashley, and Melissa were doing part of the program. That's happening even now, and I have to leave now as well because I need to go for the evening service at Bertram Central Church. So we couldn't come through. So we really sincerely apologize. But also that being in mind, we are saying that if by any chance you are able to teach the Sabbath school lesson and are willing, in cases where we're unavailable, or even if we're available and you would like to, teach, please contact us. We would appreciate the help, because I think we're also getting a bit tied up in our local churches or whatever the case could be. So would appreciate any type of help if you are gifted in such a ministry. Secondly, would be the lesson for next week, 9:30. We will have it. I'll be available, and so will Leander. So we will be available at 9:30, and also at 2:30 we're having brother Temba Ncube, who's going to be talking about the kingdom mentality. That's what's going to happen next week. Then the other week, Pastor Mzianda Lunga is speaking about a generation of game changers. Then we'll put through on the last week of April what's coming up as well. May is also packed. We're picking up more speakers. We're not going to end 2:30 conversations because churches are opening. That's not going to happen. We're still going to be available just to make sure that we interact. The numbers may have dropped, but it's okay. But we're saying we're all here, and may God bless you abundantly. I'm going to stop the live feed on Facebook now. Then I'm going to do the usual, unmute people. We start talking within ourselves maybe for the next 5-10 minutes. And then after that, we can call it a day as we say hi to each other. I'm going to close the live Facebook Live. Thank you to the Facebook family. You can still come back on Zoom. If you need the credentials, just send SDA Advertise a message right now. I will be able to receive it, and then I'll be able to send you the Zoom link. But we're just going to be here for the next 5 minutes or so.